It's Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026. You're listening to the DX Today AI Daily Brief. Today, the US government strikes pre-release safety agreements with Google DeepMind, Microsoft, and xAI. OpenAI plans a $50 billion compute year. And Sierra closes one of the largest AI agent rounds in history. Let's get into it.
Sierra has closed a $950 million Series E at a $15.8 billion post-money valuation, the company announced Monday. Tiger Global and Google's GV led the round, with continued participation from Benchmark, Sequoia, and Green Oaks. Founded just 3 years ago by OpenAI board chair Brett Taylor and former Google executive Clay Bavor, Sierra builds branded AI agents that handle customer service across mortgage refinancing, insurance claims, and retail. The company says more than 40% of the Fortune 50 are now customers, and that annual recurring revenue crossed $150 million by early February. Taylor estimates the global customer service market at $400 billion, much of which he expects to migrate to AI agents over the next several years.
From agents to layoffs.
Coinbase said Tuesday it is cutting roughly 700 employees, or about 14% of its workforce, in what Chief Executive Brian Armstrong described as a deliberate restructuring around AI. The exchange will record $50 to $60 million in mostly cash severance charges, largely in the second quarter. Armstrong is replacing what he calls pure managers with player coaches, contributors who oversee teams while still shipping work themselves, and is creating AI-native pods, in some cases one-person teams directing multiple agents. Armstrong told staff in a memo that engineers are now shipping in days what used to take weeks, framing the cut as a flatter, faster operating model rather than a pure cost reduction. The disclosure landed one day before Coinbase's first quarter earnings.
Now to Washington.
The Center for AI Standards and Innovation, housed inside the National Institute of Standards and Technology, announced Tuesday that Google DeepMind, Microsoft, and xAI have signed agreements giving the U.S. government early access to their frontier models for national security testing. Under the deals, federal scientists can evaluate models before public release, study them after deployment, and pursue targeted research on cyber, biological, and chemical risks. The three companies join OpenAI and Anthropic, which already had similar arrangements. Officials said the move follows weeks of internal concern over how rapidly frontier cyber capabilities are advancing, with one model reportedly clearing a 32-step end-to-end attack range in a single month. The administration has framed pre-release evaluation as essential for national resilience.
On the same theme, the cost of compute.
OpenAI President Greg Brockman said, Tuesday the company expects to spend roughly $50 billion on computing power this year. Brockman made the disclosure during federal court testimony, with Bloomberg, Reuters, and the Register all reporting the figure. The number puts hard math behind a long-running build-out. OpenAI has committed to deploying more than 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems for next-generation training and inference, and recently expanded partnerships across Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. At $50 billion, OpenAI's annual compute spend now rivals the total annual capital expenditure of major hyperscalers from just a few years ago. And analysts say it reframes OpenAI less as a pure software company and more as a vertically integrated AI infrastructure operator.
Speaking of infrastructure,
Digi Power X has signed a 10-year colocation agreement with Cerebras Systems for a 40-megawatt AI data center campus in Columbiana, Alabama. The initial contract is valued at approximately $1.1 billion, with total potential value of up to $2.5 billion, including renewal terms, plus an expansion option worth another $1.4 billion. Construction will proceed in 2 phases, with 15 megawatts of IT load delivered first, followed by 25 megawatts. Phase 1 is targeted for ready for service this December and is being self-funded by Digi Power X. Shares of the company surged roughly 25% on the news, reflecting how much the market is now willing to pay for any operator that can bring large blocks of AI capacity online quickly.
Now to enterprise AI.
Anthropic launched 10 ready-to-run agent templates for financial services on Tuesday, available across Claude Cowork, Claude Code, and as cookbooks for Claude-managed agents. The templates target some of the most time-consuming workflows in finance, including pitch book creation, KYC screening, model building, and month-end close. Anthropic also rolled out Microsoft 365 add-ins, allowing Claude to operate directly inside Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, with Outlook support listed as coming soon. The release was paired with new data connectors from Dun & Bradstreet, GuidePoint, IBISWorld, and Verisk, along with a Moody's app that brings credit ratings and information on more than 600 million companies into Claude. Anthropic says Claude Opus 4.7 now leads Valse AI's finance agent benchmark.
From banks to insurance.
Reserv has closed a $125 million Series C led by KKR, the New York and London insurance technology firm, announced this week. Reserv operates as an AI-native third-party administrator for property and casualty claims, using generative models to triage, document, and adjudicate cases that historically required human adjusters. The company says it now handles claims for more than 200 client carriers, has scaled processing volume from roughly 500,000 to 30 million claims, and has reached $100 million in annual recurring revenue. The funding will go toward expanding into commercial lines, deepening its underwriting and fraud detection models, and building out international operations. KKR called Reserv one of the clearest examples of AI reorganizing a regulated workflow at scale.
Next, a foundation model bet.
Seattle-based Standard Intelligence has emerged from stealth with $75 million in fresh capital, co-led by Sequoia and Spark Capital. The six-person company is building what it calls FDM1, a foundation model that learns to operate software the way a person does, watching screen video and inferring what to click. The pitch is that traditional language models read and write text, while FDM1 watches and acts, an architecture the founders believe is better suited to long-horizon enterprise tasks like processing claims, reconciling invoices, or handling Tier 1 support. Standard Intelligence is one of the highest-valued seed rounds of the year so far. The company says early enterprise pilots focus on regulated industries where audit trails and visual context matter most.
Now to public markets.
Palantir reported first quarter results after the bell Monday, posting revenue of $1.63 billion, up 85% year over year, the fastest growth pace since the company went public. US revenue climbed 104%, and adjusted earnings per share came in at 33 cents, against expectations of 28. Management raised full-year guidance to roughly $7.66 billion, implying 71% annual growth, with US commercial guidance lifted to 120% year over year. Despite the beat, shares slid almost 7% on Tuesday as investors weighed Palantir's premium valuation against rising competition from hyperscalers and a wave of newer AI-native software companies entering its government and commercial accounts.
More agent infrastructure now.
Seattle-based CopilotKit raised $27 million on Tuesday, including a $20 million Series A and a $7 million extension. Glelote Capital, NFX, and SignalFire led the round, with participation from existing investors. CopilotKit is the team behind one of the most widely adopted open-source AI agent protocols, used by developers to embed copilots and autonomous workflows directly inside their own products. The company said adoption has accelerated as enterprises move beyond chat interfaces and begin deploying agents that take actions inside business software. The funding will go toward expanding the protocol's enterprise tooling, including governance, observability, and cross-vendor compatibility, and supporting the rapidly growing community of teams building agentic features on top of the framework.
Now from Las Vegas.
ServiceNow opened its Knowledge 2026 conference Tuesday with a sweeping pivot from workflow platform to what Chief Executive Bill McDermott called the AI agent of agents. The company unveiled an expanded autonomous workforce, a suite of AI specialists capable of completing entire business processes end-to-end without human intervention, along with Otto, a unified AI experience that combines Now Assist, MoveWorks, and the company's existing AI tools. ServiceNow also debuted Action Fabric, an open system letting any third-party agent execute governed work on its platform. The AI Control Tower, which discovers, risk scores, and governs agents across the enterprise, will now be included in every product and package by default rather than sold as an upcharge add-on.
And finally, the chip industry.
ASML Chief Executive Christophe Fouquet, speaking at the Milken Institute Global Conference in Los Angeles, said Tuesday that AI demand is keeping the semiconductor industry on its growth trajectory, even as export controls and national industrial policy reshape the global supply chain. Fouquet said the Dutch lithography giant continues to see strong customer interest in advanced extreme ultraviolet tools, with TSMC accelerating its 2-nanometer expansion to roughly 5 operational fabs by year-end. He cautioned that memory chip prices will likely remain elevated well into 2027 and possibly beyond, driven by data center demand. The remarks come as NVIDIA's market capitalization touched a record $5.26 trillion, underscoring how completely AI spending now drives the semiconductor cycle.
That's your briefing for Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026. For DX Today, stay curious.